Part 151. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1516. Yanj did not get out of the car to resolve the zombies. Gozan had nothing to look for, and asked her curiously, "Don't you want to get some nuclei? These zombies are second level, with nuclei in their heads." Yanj smiled softly, "Zombies are dirty, smelly, and terrible. I'm afraid to go." Dog 3, he believes that he is a ghost. Could not help but secretly squinted at the words. The woman looked tender and weak, simple and beautiful, but Kanema's, it was more cruel than the zombies. Not only Go-san, but everyone in the team has a deep memory of Yanj. One by one, they wanted to hug the big guy's thigh and beg the big guy to share the secret. After chopping off several zombies, someone offered to give Song Song the crystal nucleus that was not suitable for him. Yanji didn't take over, "It's too dirty. Wash it before you give it to me." Everyone, women and cleanliness. In the last days, the only one they met with cleanliness was their boss. The teammates who squeezed into the trunk of the pickup truck with the boss, heard the answer from the carriage in the carriage, and fell on the boss with their eyes. Their eyes were eager and straightforward. Such a baby must not be allowed to go to other bases. Best, stay dead in the thunder. But what can the thunder make her nostalgic? Although everyone is now very open to things between men and women, and they agree with each other, they all agree that the woman in the co-pilot position should be a woman loyal to love. Women are creatures like love. They themselves did not expect to take this woman down. After all, with psychological shadows, they are really afraid that women will turn them into flower fertilizer when they are excited in bed. However, they can't bear to let go of such a baby. Fat and water do not flow outsiders' fields. They all agreed that in order to settle for this woman, it was necessary for her boss to seduce herself. After all, the boss and the woman still have a little bit of common language, they are all cleanliness. The inch-headed boss looked indifferent. Ignore the eager eyes of everyone. Go-san consciously feels almost as enthusiastic as Yanj, and then the words turn around and ask, "Yanga, who taught you the way to absorb the energy of crystal nuclei? Do you directly absorb it? Is there any trick?" He asked carefully and was very humble. Yanj looked at the gray sky outside. "It's simple, hard, just master these 2 points." It sounds really simple. When the men in the pickup box heard these words, someone immediately took out a crystal nuclei and squeezed it hard. Work harder and harder. Although the crystal nuclei are small, they are not round and have edges and corners. After this guy squeezed for a while, he suddenly grabbed his hands and shouted, "It hurts me, Mom, you have to treat me with a box," and my hand was punctured by the crystal nuclei. His eyes were staring at him. The box is a therapist in the team. His power is repair. His attack power is not strong, but the repair ability is very strong, so everyone treats him as a baby. The box heard the words helplessly, reached forward and grabbed his hand, and the man's hand was restored as before. The inch-headed boss suddenly said at this time, "She is a wooden ability and should be related to this." Everyone was silent. Wood abilities have always been firewood. This woman can also grow flowers and plants. Many wood abilities can't even plant flowers and can only control the wood. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1517. In the years after the end of the last days, every few days there will be a red rain that can erode people into a pool of water, causing all flowers and trees to become extinct, and the land is barren. Therefore, the wood-based abilities of the waste material are even more useless. In this world, most of the people who have no place to go are dead ends. Because of this, people with wooden abilities are rare, and even if they are living at the bottom. Yanj didn't pay attention to the conversation of those who followed. The sky was gray and the air had a very pungent smell. It's very uncomfortable. She frowned, raised the glass window, and asked Guzan, is the air always like this? What smells so bad? Go-san shrugged. After the end of the last days, the sky will become like this. If the sun doesn't come out, people will be exposed to smoke once it comes out. Fortunately, everyone basically has abilities and produces antibodies to this environment. It doesn't matter. The only pity is that there are no so-called crops anymore, everyone has very little food, and the problem of famine is as severe as the problem of zombies. Yan Ji nodded and didn't speak again. Go-san sneaked a glance at her, pretending to be curious and asked, did you ever go out of that house before? What is the name of the person who has been protecting your powers? I know a lot of people and can help you check it and say no, maybe he is alive. Yum murmured, and did not respond. 3 dogs are interested, although curious, they don't ask again. On weekdays, these people are arrogant. One by one, they are lawless, and when they see a woman, they are up. But now, they are persuading before Yanj. With absolute force, everything is scum. There are 3 doors to the Thunder base. Behind each door is not only a check to see if it is your own person, but also a layer-by-layer check by a medical therapist to see if an infected person is mixed in. Yanj is really eye-catching in these piles of grey-faced and rough-faced man, it is almost like a white lotus suddenly appeared in a pile of cow dung. Everyone paid attention, but most of these people at the door were relatively low-grade, did not dare to ask questions, and just watched silently. But how many steps in charge of the gate defense today jumped off the gate, haha laughed and patted Dogson's shoulder, and frowned and asked, where did you make such a woman? Boss. Is it ours tonight? Thunder base, divided into many teams, Thunder team is the backbone of the entire Thunder base. Everyone is proud to join the Thunder, and women are proud to be able to climb the Thunder. He is also the Thunder. No wonder he thinks so. Women came before, as long as the boss didn't care about them, they could go early for the first time. Go-san blinked at him, the boss didn't see me, and Yanj didn't fancy us, otherwise you can brush your face in front of Yanj and see if she can see you. He was afraid of hearing the words, and did not dare to disparage them too much. He sneered in disdain, no, she's pretty, her skin is white and tender. Look at her weak, she's still a wood, and dare to take the shelf like this. Are you being kind to her? She has to be willing and unwilling. His voice was not low, and he was staring at Yanj when he said it, which was intentionally told to Yanj. Good brother, enough courage. Guzan and everyone silently wondered why they had a wax. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1518. He choked his hair and turned his words, but it's not that she refused. You are all too ugly, and rough, and you can't blame her for rejecting you. He considers himself a charming and fleshy handsome guy. At least in the Thunder, he is the second biggest handsome. Of course, he is not only handsome, he also has strength, and is willing to spend for women. No woman would be unwilling to stick to him. He dropped his hair on his shoulders and strode forward. Naturally, he did not notice the pitying glances of the teammates behind him. Yan Song is looking around. When he approached her, he wanted to have a solid hug. Congratulations on your luck in coming to Thunder. This is your home from now on. But even the corner of Yanj did not touch it. Under his feet, a tree suddenly grew, and that tree separated him from Yanj. Yan Ji looked at him with a smile, and his eyes were a little curious. Are you also the Thunder? The question was really naive, nodded, and was about to get away from the tree and hug her again, listening to the song and saying, the Thunder team I just joined today, the teammates on the car gave me 20, the nucleus of the ceremonial ceremonies. What about you? Rub, these guys, this woman is also shaban to sleep. 20 crystal nuclei, which were left a while ago, no one can take them out. But there was a wave of zombies yesterday, and everyone was very productive. But just so casually took out 20 crystal nuclei as a gift to a woman. Why, it still feels incredible. After all, even if a woman likes it, at most rewarding them with a bun or a box of cans, the woman will be grateful to date. Now, how about giving the woman 20 crystal nuclei as a ceremony? He looked beyond the words and looked at his teammates. His teammates nodded in pain. They did not dare to dismantle the station, and no one wanted to be a fertilizer. Of course, the most important thing is that this person has always liked to cut Hoo-Hoo the most. He has cut Hoo-Hoo many times, which has caused anger. This time, everyone has to fulfill him anyway. He laughed, stretched out his hand, and stroked the leaves of the small tree in front of him. Is this tree you planted? It looks lush and green. I did not expect you to have such ability. Although he made a big deal with women, these 20 crystal nuclei are not a small number. That's how he put it in his pockets. It's not his usual style to give all this to a woman who can conquer by his own face. He is not as smoky as his teammates, and will be fainted by a slightly better looking woman and give up all his life-saving books. So why not plan to conceal the woman in front of her by her own charm, without mentioning the matter of meeting? Yanj heard the words and smiled slightly. She has beautiful facial features, and smiles slightly when she smiles, as if shy. It's so beautiful. Kixin's heart was so crisp, his eyes stared at Yanj with affection, his voice was dumb. Will this little tree give me? Yanj's lips croaked, and he smiled at Xiao Qiao, who said, okay. She laughed so much, how could she feel that her heartbeat was slow? Therefore, he did not realize that the green plant under his hand was like a cannibal flower. He suddenly opened his mouth to expose sharp teeth, and bit his hand with a sip. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1519. When he felt the pain, the green tree just planted on the ground was wrapped around his arms and legs like an octopus. The broad leaves were in half, as if they had extremely sharp teeth, all of them click and click to bite his flesh. Yanj added with a kind smile, little Lulu will give it to you. Feed it well. It likes the smell on you. It hurts. The leaves of these trees looked weak, but with every bite, they could rip through his clothes and flesh. Seeing blood. It's a good time to feed, so much kung fu, how can it be howling in sorrow? But so many people around, for the sake of image, he forbears. What a wind power, the dagger appeared in his hand, quickly and accurately cut to those branches that entangled himself. However, although a single knife can cut down a lot of leaves, not only did they not land, but they seemed to become a single individual with their teeth and fluttered at him. His knife is fast. The leaves of the tree are faster than his knife. This picture is really unbearable. Although everyone had long thought about waxing him, they still couldn't bear to look directly at him when he saw such misery. This woman wouldn't be ruthless to solve it on the spot. Everyone was eager to move, thinking whether to go up to persuade a peace. Of course, even if they want to go, they don't have the courage. They look around, looking for where their boss is going. Yan Ji still smiled toward him, and the smile was really gentle. Is there a ceremony? Why? The other woman was thorny, this woman had teeth. What can he say? It's not his style to really tear his face with a woman. The key is that everyone is watching it. It doesn't matter if he can play it, but he won't be beaten again. How ugly. So he immediately nodded, yes, younger sister, please ask Xiao Lu to step back and I'll look for a gift for you. Yanj, little green likes you, you like it too, and it will be attached to you in the future. He chi, No need, this tree was planted by you. How can I capture the beauty, and it is inconvenient for me to go out with a little green, you should take it back. I beg you to take it back. Yan Ji looked at him with a loss on his face. So, this is a meeting gift originally given to you. Since you don't like it, I'll take it back. She raised her hand and grabbed it, and the green trees tangled in it instantly disappeared. My meeting gift has been given to you, what about your meeting gift? He, this woman, he doesn't have a family name if he doesn't sleep back to Ben. The clothes on those tree leaves had torn and ragged, and blood was everywhere. It's too embarrassing. It's almost like a beggar being stung. Fortunately, in this eschatology, no one pays attention to food and clothing. Even if the clothes on his body are very torn and ragged, they are all like that. He obediently took out 20 crystal nuclei and handed it to Yanj. Yan Xiaomei, this is a meeting ceremony. Would you like to give me a close friend? Yanj took the crystal nucleus he handed over, and when Yan raised his eyes and smiled sweetly at him, okay, come here, I can't hook it so high. Her smile must be as simple as possible, and as harmless as possible. The sound is even sweeter, it can be so sweet to people's hearts. But how could she smile at her, and she was instantly irritated. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1520. He even stepped back involuntarily. When he responded, he was busy shifting the topic. Are you also joining our Thunder Squad? Welcome and welcome, you are such an amazing player who can advance so much with a wooden ability. It is really unique. The words are modest, it's just a fluke. How to believe this? But the three dogs behind Yanj would not believe it. Yan Song pursed her lips and smiled at him. I am weak, so please take care of me in the future. What a grin is so evil, he blinked his hair and blinked at Yan Song. No problem, taking care of you is my instinct. Yan Xiaomei you. Before he finished speaking, Yanj interrupted him with a smile. Call me Yanj, my little girl can't listen to it. Why would he want to talk about how close the little girl is, but he smiled slightly at the smile on Shang Yanj. Of course, the main thing is that feelings can be gradually cultivated in the future. Because the title is no longer stale, he immediately changed his voice. Songs, are you tired? I will take you to register. Yan Song, okay, thank you. Where did you come from? Are there any relatives? Have you stayed at another base before? The Thunder base is the most humane base around. You don't have to be afraid here. The two went all the way, his voice never stopped, but the woman's voice was hardly heard. Everyone glanced at each other, all silently felt, why this guy will sooner or later become a flower fat? Entering the base, according to everyone's ability and pay, will be equipped with corresponding conditions. Yan Ji directly joined the Thunder Squad, which shows that her ability is very good, and she looks good. After a little hesitation of the logistics staff, she was arranged in the building where the Thunder Squad lived alone. The room was close to the boss. The boss doesn't have a woman till now. Such a cute little girl directly airborne the Thunder Squad. The logistics consciously must have been the little girl's attention from the boss, so she directly dropped the water to the Thunder Squad. The logistics quietly acted as a propaganda, and thought that this arrangement would definitely make the boss feel at ease. The bedding and toiletries were on the table. Yan Ji had no intention of holding it, but looked up. He seconds understand, immediately picked up these things. I will show you where to live. Yan Ji nodded slightly, thank you. With such a word of thanks, why has he been resurrected with blood? Not only sent Yanj to the Thunder Squad's place, but also helped Yanj lay the bedding. None of his own bedding was so flat, but Yanj's bedding was flat and unfolded. Oh, the room between Yanj has never been lived and needs to be cleaned. He cleaned inside and out again. Song, thank you. The beauty's voice is sweet and sweet. Even if you don't like to do any of these tasks, you are willing to do so. Why did he finish the work, just about to sit down and talk about life and feelings? I heard the intercom ring. He was on duty at the gate today, and for so long he was absent for no reason. The boss asked him to go on duty immediately. Oh, I still have to deduct him for a month. The Thunder team members will send 10 more crystal nuclei a month. As a result, he was so poor that he didn't even have a chance to play cards. He stood up and said, slightly annoyed, "I'm leaving, the boss has a bad temper, and I'll probably beat me up soon." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1521. He Chi originally wanted to find some consolation here in Yanj. As long as the beauty distresses him, he doesn't matter. Words, oh, goodbye then. Although she was laughing, she had no nostalgia on her face. Why, after doing this for a long time, I dare to do it for nothing. As he was about to go out, he suddenly stood still and reached out to pull Yan Ji's arm. Yan Ji, you. He was a wind power, and the speed was already fast enough, but he did not expect that he did not catch this woman. His words were stuck in his throat, and he just stared at the speech song that was kept a foot away from him. Before her little tree, he only thought that her wood power mutation would be like that, but now, how could she be faster than him? Yanj waved at him, "Goodbye, don't send." Why? Rejecting the doubt in his heart, he planned to ask his companions for a while to find out where such a weird woman was. Anyway, Yanj closed the door. She lay on the bed, closed her eyes, and began to merge the plot in this plane. Speaking of which, the plot of this plane is simple. And, it was unexpected. The original owner is called Yanj like her. The original owner's wood power mutates much more than usual wood powers. Not only can he grow flowers and grass, but he can also grow food. She lived in that big house with another girl and was always self-sufficient. One thing was really guessed by Go-san. The wood-based power wasted, and the girl who lived with the original owner didn't even evolve. The two girls were able to live in that house safely because a man was protecting them. To be precise, not a man, but an advanced mutant zombies. It looks like humans, but in fact, it is essentially a zombie. It's just that the two girls didn't realize the true face of the zombie, but because the zombie looks good and is dumb, they prefer this zombie. Especially the other girl Ruan Qing, secretly in love with zombies. She can feel that the zombies prefer the original owner, and her heart has always been jealous. After the zombies had disappeared, Ruan Qing went out to look for them, but instead found no zombies. Instead, he encountered two zombies. I came across the degree. After being rescued by the degree, I thought that I could take this opportunity to kill the original owner with a knife and kill, so that the zombie would be her alone. In fact, she did as she wished, and the other companion who heard her described was more beautiful and went to the house with great interest. The original owner did not want to be insulted by such a man, so he committed suicide. The so-called wish of the original owner is to hope that Yanj can help her revenge. And in this plane, the system releases tasks. More ridiculous than the mission posted in the previous plane: turn the car in a beautiful pose. Turn the car in a beautiful pose. What mission? It feels that since this rollover system is bound, the task of the system release is like a joke. However, the good thing is that the task is easy and she doesn't have to worry too much. Although the degree of revenge for the original owner has been suspended, there is still a culprit, Ruan Qing. Speaking of which, this Ruan Qing is now in the Thunder base. However, she is a woman. Even if she has no power, because she looks beautiful, she should not mix too badly in the base. Receiving memories today has no side effects. Yan Ji opened his eyes, raised his hand, and looked at the white slender hand of the original owner. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1522. The word song itself is a tree, and the original owner is a wood power variation. When she entered this body, she gave full play to the wood system power, and it seemed that she had mutated again. But this body is too weak to keep up with her performance. Today's pretend to force has caused her bones and muscles to be sore to the point of her pain, almost like being forcibly torn. The most important thing for her now is to improve her physical strength first. I don't know why, since Yanj has been in this body, he has always been eager to move, there is always a kind of lofty ambition to want to do it. After all, it has been a long time since I found such a suitable body. And she has been in the plane for a long time. Rarely has such a body, and has come to such an era where heroes can be turned into chaos. Dedicated to her 20 crystal nuclei to absorb. Yan Ji closed her eyes, and her body was tired and painful. She was going to sleep. The knock sounded at this time. How could anyone bother to die of her life? Yanj grabbed the discomfort in his eyes and got up to open the door. The boss of thunder threw his hands in his pockets, leaning against the threshold, leaned his head slightly, and looked at the words. Yanj was attracted by his head at first sight. Hairless heads are always very prone to sympathy. What's more, she noticed, but in a short time, this guy's inch size became bald. The little hair that had grown up was gone, replaced by a shiny scalp. The bald became bald. The bald boss raised his eyelids and yanked his lips. Are you still used to living? Of course it is not a concern, the man speaks with a feeling of ruthlessness. Words, if you don't get used to it, get used to it. The bald boss didn't mean to continue talking or comforting. So both were silent. Yanj was silently thinking whether this guy suddenly turned into a shiny bald head, because he was radiated with hair loss. Need she compliment him for his cleverness? The bald boss has stunned his words for a few moments. Eventually I couldn't bear it, I coughed and asked, are you scared at night? Do you need sleep? He certainly didn't think she would be afraid. Mainly want to recommend a pillow. Yanj shook his head, not afraid. She lifted her chin, her eyes scornful, no one can hurt me here. Since this person cared about himself for a while, Yanj Lishang still exchanged, you have a pretty bald head, bright, pretty good. Bald boss, he turned away without expression. But after taking 2 steps, he was extremely uncomfortable, turned around and strode back to want to talk to Yanj about what a hairstyle is. However, he had just reached the door, and the door had closed with a touch. The bald boss stood at the door, his lips clenched, his face even colder, and his body seemed to be on fire, making people dare not approach him. But in the end, he didn't knock on the door anymore and turned into the next room. Yan Ji slept for 3 days. Fortunately, these people are also very interesting, no one dares to disturb her. The value of force determines everything. Everyone is afraid of being used as fertilizer. The only bald boss who dared to knock on the door because of her bald has decided not to seduce her anymore, and started the Cold War with her unilaterally. Waking up in the middle of the night after 3 days. Yan Ji was sleeping very full, and the pain and tear in his body were a lot lighter. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1523. Water and electricity are relatively scarce. Fortunately, because of the big brother next door, the supply of water and electricity in Yanj is still abundant. Yan Ji took a bath, and afterwards he felt a little hungry, opened the door, and walked out. Just happened to encounter the bald boss coming back from the outside. Upstairs there was only the bald boss, but now Yanj is arranged next to the bald boss. These 2 people live on the entire floor. One came from this side of the corridor, and one came from the other side of the corridor. The eyes of the two were intertwined, both expressionless. As his eyes narrowed, the bald boss asked, "Where are you going in the middle of the night?" "Hungry, go out and get something to eat." The bald boss narrowed his eyes. "This evening, where do you think there is food? The cafeteria has been closed for a long time." "Oh, where is there other than the cafeteria? Is there anything in your room?" "Yes, but why give you food?" The bald boss answered decisively, "No." The ending of the song goes up, "Oh." With a smirk, she stared sideways at the bald boss. "Really?" There was a smile on the corner of her lips, and her eyes rose slightly. The dark sensor light in the hallway was always on and off. She had bright eyes and bright red lips, just like a goblin coming out of the darkness, demon and charming, but with a clean and naive that was not corroded by the last days. The bald boss's fingers rubbed slightly. He remembered what was on the team. That guy has been thinking about this woman for 3 days. Not only she, other teammates are also, while dreading her and fearing her, he is also tempted to want to have a spring breeze with her. He raised his eyelids and frowned at her. "Food needs something to exchange." The voice was cold and unemotional. "It's not like provocation between men and women." Yan Song tilted his head and looked at him. Her watery eyes were full of doubts and puzzled. "Oh, what do I need to exchange?" The bald boss's throat rolled slightly. He stared at her slightly open red lips, his eyes fainting. His thumb and his index finger clung tightly without any trace. Staring at her, his voice was hoarse, and asked, "What do you think?" Yan Ji smiled softly, "You stare at me now, but it reminds me of the wolf I have seen before. Wouldn't you want to sleep with me?" She lifted the window screen directly. Even with such words, she didn't have a trace of extravagance in her eyes. But her voice was so soft that it didn't have a charm in his ears. His throat was blocked by something, itchy and uncomfortable, eyes staring at her urgently. "Why, you don't want to?" Yan Ji did not answer. She looked up and down the man in front of her. "I have to say that this man not only looks good, but also has a strong body and looks very tense." Slim waist and hips and a strong chest reminded Yanj of leopard, a creature with good waist and physical strength. Well, but he is bald. Although baldness can make Yanj sympathize. But sleeping with bald men, Yan Ji resisted in his eyes. After staring at him for a while, Yan Ji stomped, trying to touch his head to soothe. As a result, the man was too tall, and she felt panic in her arms when she touched it. So he patted him on the shoulder, then retracted his hand. Under the stunned eyes of the bald boss, who was shocked by the ache appointment, she said, "Sleeping is still good, and you have no passion. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1524. Yan Ji waved to the bald boss, "I'll go downstairs to see if there's anything to eat, and go to bed early." Bald boss. After 1 minute. Yanj sat in the bald boss's room, with 2 boxes of empty canned meat in front of her. "Although I ate 2 boxes of canned meat and a bag of biscuits, not only did my stomach not feel full, but instead it seemed to have maggots and was hungry." He licked his lips and looked up at the bald boss. The bald boss was unmoved. "It's gone." Yan Ji didn't really believe. "Really?" The bald boss snorted. "It's gone." Yanj, "Oh, thank you for your hospitality, although I'm not full." She paused. "Goodbye." The words fell away and left. Bald boss. Mom didn't give her something to eat and wipe her mouth and ran away. Yan Ji didn't stop at all, but already walked to the door. The bald boss stared at her back and could not bear it. He calmly asked her, "Where are you going?" Yanj, Go downstairs and ask if they have food. Bald boss. The fingers were squeezed tightly and released again. He stared at the slender white tender ankles under her long skirt, and said fiercely, "Come back." Yan Ji stood still without moving, only turning his head in surprise and glaring at him. "You have nothing to eat here, why should I come back?" This woman pretending to be stupid. The bald boss stared at her with dark, golden eyes. "I have it, come back." "Yanj, what do you have?" "I'm tired of canned meat. I still kick my nose on my face." The bald boss was flat-faced, and with a wave of his hand, a pile of food piled up on the table. He has the ability to store space. Yan Ji opened his mouth slightly, surprised, and walked back spontaneously, sitting on the sofa. "So much food, you lied to me and said no more." The dignified boss lied, not leading by example. "Bald boss, don't harass my teammates in the future, they are not as strong as you, they can't beat you." "Yanj, it's like I'm looking for them to fight." The bald boss asked her obliquely, "Why is that?" "Words, for the crystal nucleus." "Really, Frank, haha." The bald boss glanced at her. "It's not easy for them to earn crystal nuclei. You want to kill the zombies and take crystal nuclei?" "Yanj, no, I'm afraid of dirt, but even of zombies." "Bald boss, I believe in your evil. But still ask, what do you want so many nuclei?" "Yanj, it's about to advance, you need crystal nuclei." Bald only remembered that she could absorb many nuclei at one time, and obviously had no side effects. "How much?" "I don't know." Yanj thought for a while. "Thousands." "Bald boss." Yanj asked him, "Do you have?" The bald boss replied particularly simply, "I don't." "Yes or no?" Her needs on the nucleus are obviously more frightening than her stomach's need for food. Yan Ji didn't quite believe. "Really?" "Bald boss, no one, never use that thing." Yanj was curious, "How did you advance?" "Bald boss, it's just fine to stand outside every time thunder and rain." "You're advanced, this is special." The bald boss was silent. Everyone else thinks he is a thunderbolt, and only he knows that his power is not a thunderbolt. He has a kind of speculation, but he never dare to confirm. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1525. Yan Ji frowned and joked, "No wonder he can be the boss. She eats refreshingly, so her voice is light and soft." The thought of the bald boss was interrupted. He looked up and squinted at the words, and squinted at the garbage left by her, which was almost the same as the hill. "It hurts." The woman looked thin and small, and did not expect to be so edible. This should be okay before, in this mode, raising her can eat people into poor eggs. He suddenly regretted calling her. However, listening to her voice, I felt that it was actually good to sit with her like this. "Yanj, do you still belong to Thunder abilities? Can such things be told to others casually? He doesn't even tell others how he advances." Instantly wanted to kill her. The bald boss squinted slightly, staring at Yanj. Yan Ji stared at him with a smile, without feeling any problem with his words. The bald boss pursed his lips and did not respond. With a wave of his hand, he took back all the snacks on the table. "If you're full, get out, I'm going to sleep." "Good baldness," said the words, saying that he had made a mistake and immediately changed his words, "Good boss." "Bald boss. I ate her so much." He stared at her, with a vocal danger, "What do you call me?" Yan Ji smiled at him, "Boss, boss, boss." The bald boss wasn't infected by her smile at all, and her lips twitched as if smiling. "Bald. Yanj, in fact, it is not wrong to call you bald. You look in the mirror yourself, you are now a bald, but it is not good to just expose you short." "This is my fault," I admitted, I'm sorry. Bald boss, I'm not bald. Yan Ji stared at his bare head, opened his mouth, and couldn't say against him that this was not bald. So decisively silent, looking at him with sympathetic eyes only, don't be excited, it's my fault, and I promise not to poke you short before you. The bald boss interrupted her, I'm not bald, I bald because I thought I had trouble washing my hair and wasting water, so I shaved my hair. Yan Ji nodded to understand. But her sympathetic eyes clearly did not mean so. The bald boss stared at Yanj with a heavy eye. It's almost like staring at a dying man. After all, Yanj ate the shortest of others, but helplessly, well, I believe you. As she spoke, the last string of the bald boss was completely broken. He strode towards Yanj. Yanj took a step back and his body was already leaning against the door. Really wondering if this guy is going to fight her here to make up for his bald name. The bald boss walked up to her, put his hands on the door, and surrounded her. He bowed his head and stared down at Yanj, Guzi, my name. Yanji slightly raised his head and stared at him in surprise, dog. This name is quite chic. However, it sounds slightly better than baldness. So after a brief surprise, Yanj said again and again, hello, my son, my name is Yanj. Guzi. He stared at Yanj, his golden eyes, now dark. Probably always on the edge of blackening. Grinding his teeth, he said word by word, dragging and dying, tirelessly. Words of song. These two words could not have been hit together. But such a combination is still interesting.